A protest has been held in London in support of a soldier from Norwich who faces a court-martial for alleged desertion. Lance Corporal Joe Glenton led a protest in London last month against the presence of British troops in Afghanistan.
He was already facing a court-martial for refusing to return to war, but 5 further charges mean he could now face up to 10 years in prison. Serena Sandhu has this report.
Taking the fight to the Ministry of Defence. These members of the Stop the War coalition have gathered in London tonight to call for the release of Lance Corporal Joe Glenton. The 27-year-old completed a tour of duty in Afghanistan in 2006, but when his regiment was due to return a year later, he went absent without leave and now says he won't return. He's now being held in a military prison in Colchester.
It's not right to just follow orders blindly. I think there's something wrong, fundamentally wrong with this campaign, and its justifications don't really add up to me.
Glenton faces a court-martial in January. Last month he led an anti-war protest in London against the presence of British troops in Afghanistan and was charged with 5 further offences. If convicted, he faces up to 10 years in prison.
He's saying what people are thinking, he's saying what he believes, he's speaking from the heart. And he's taught in the army about the moral and ethical code, and he's following that to the letter.
The MOD said it was inappropriate for them to comment while legal proceedings were ongoing. Meanwhile, Glenton's supporters have accused the government of trying to stifle his freedom of speech. Serena Sandhu, Anglia News.
Well, it's 12 minutes past 6. There's plenty more news still to come tonight.
Amanda will have more of your weather pictures and this.
Coming to a shopping centre, a return to Formula One racing next season. The Norfolk-based outfit joins the growing number of F1 teams based in our region.
Preparations are already underway at its factory in Hingham, and Lotus's local-born technical director Mike Gascoigne and team principal Tony Fernandes invited our very own Rhiannon Mills along for a sneak preview.
Behind these doors is a team racing against time.
Welcome to Lotus F1.
John Eagling has worked at the factory for 20 years under Toyota F1, Bentley's Le Mans team and now Lotus.
Well, I'm over the moon about it. Really terrific. We need it for the area, you know, and having the heritage of Lotus coming back into Norfolk, and especially here, it's wonderful.
As you can see, it's all fairly quiet at the moment, but over the next few months, some of those 250 new staff will be based in here, making the bodywork for that new car. And this is one of the machine shops where they're going to be making parts like these here. Now, our region is certainly well placed for this kind of thing. We're now going to have 4 of the Formula One teams based in our region, 2 of the main engine manufacturers, and they're backed up by hundreds of smaller racing teams and engineering companies. Which is great news for technical director Mike Gascoigne.
There is a tremendous support industry here, you know, based around motorsport, not necessarily Formula One over the last few years. And of course, the Lotus history and heritage is here in Norfolk.
It's a down-to-earth team. We want to have fun. We want people to feel part of the team. And we want people who are working here to enjoy themselves. And I think that will be the difference between us and many others.
So far, Lotus haven't got a car up and running. They're still working with these models in the wind tunnel. But with 5 months until that first race, they're very soon going to need more than family antiques if they want to keep up that winning heritage. Rhiannon Mills, Anglia News at Hingham near Norwich.
An exciting season ahead for
I love
them.
that green car as well.
Great. Right, negotiators being brought in to help break the deadlock surrounding an illegal traveller site in Essex and avoid the need for a forced eviction costing over £2 million. Richard Bennett, a Surrey councillor who served on a national traveller working group, will mediate in the dispute over the Dale Farm site at Crays Hill in Basildon. He's going to seek a solution between the local council and travellers so the site can be cleared without families being left homeless.
An Essex MP is making renewed calls for the release of a search and rescue dog which is being held in quarantine after working in Indonesia. Darcy, a border collie used by Essex Fire and Rescue Service, will have to stay in quarantine until April in Colchester. She was sent to Indonesia to help search for earthquake survivors. Colchester's MP, Bob Russell, says the quarantine rules should change.
For goodness sake, Darcy is the only rescue dog employed in Essex by the local fire and rescue service. She is currently not able to do the job for which she was trained.
Now, if you're one of the millions hooked on the latest ITV1 drama Collision, it won't have escaped your notice that the plot centres on a multi-vehicle pile-up in Essex.
Yes, the writer Andy Horowitz, who lives in Suffolk, was apparently inspired to come up with the idea during a long trek along the A12. Tom Barton's been speaking to some of the people who made the idea a reality.
It's reported to be the most expensive road crash ever filmed for British TV. The centre point of a drama which is attracting millions of viewers all week on ITV1. And it's set right here in our region. The plot of Collision follows the consequences of a multi-car pile-up on the A12 here in Essex. And, while the story may be a work of fiction, much of the research was done with real-life police officers based right here in Essex.
What do you say? That's a mess.
Douglas Henshall plays Collision's central character, Detective Inspector John Tolin. He's working with accident investigators from Essex Police.
Well, you know you're going to have to work out of Chelmsford. Yeah, I'll go up there tomorrow.
The real Essex road crash investigation team is led by Sergeant David Jones.
All right, we all ready?
Yep. In recent years, his team has investigated a number of high-profile car accidents. They advised programme makers on how real road accidents are investigated and the impact on those involved.
Well, the tragedy starts at the scene, but it goes on far beyond that. You know, when you've got family members, witnesses, the trauma it causes them, and it just doesn't start and end with a road crash. It goes on and on and on.
How's he doing?
I'm afraid we lost him.
The final episode of Collision is tomorrow night on ITV1.
You're here, so I may as well use everyone I've got.
But for real-life crash investigators, the work will sadly never end. Tom Barton, Anglia News, Essex.
Now, a Norfolk town once dubbed the meanest in Britain when it raised just £5 for its Christmas lights display has had another poor response this year. Dis made unwanted national headlines after its poor collection in 2003, but this year just 3 local businesses have made a financial contribution, taking the total to just £250. Mayor Jane Trippett-Jones has warned that the town council may decide to stop funding the festive display if traders don't show greater support.
Now then, it's always daunting when you start a new job, and that was no different for one woman today. But for RAF pilot Kirsty Moore, who is based at Stamford in South Lincolnshire, her new role is one most of us could only dream about.
And it's a job that's never been done by a woman before. ITV's Martin Fisher went along to find out more.
Now, there's been many pioneering female aviators, Amelia Earhart, Amy Johnson to name but 2. Well, today another name can be added to that list, and that's Kirsty Moore. Now, you might not have heard of her, but I'm sure you'll have heard of who she's going to fly with.
Yes, from today, Flight Lieutenant Kirsty Moore becomes Red 3, the first female pilot to take to the skies with the world-famous Red Arrows. But for Kirsty, who's flown tornadoes above the skies of Iraq, coming back to her home county means all eyes are on her.
My dad's obviously amazingly proud. My mum's really excited about it as well, as you can imagine, and they live just south of Lincoln, so they pop outside every now and again to see me flying over just to make sure I'm doing all right, and then they phone me up in the evening and give me their critique on how well I've been doing.
Joining Kirsty to face the press today was the Reds' new squadron leader, Ben Murphy. So what did he make of the team's historic new recruit?
It makes absolutely no difference to us whether it's male or female. We clearly pick the new pilots to be the best pilots we can get and the best personalities to act as ambassadors for the Royal Air Force. And I'm glad to say that Kirsty was one of 2, along with Ben, that we chose to be the best ambassadors.
In terms of the Red Arrows, I hadn't considered it because I didn't think I would really be in the going for it, to be fair, until about 2 years ago, and suddenly thought that maybe it was an option for me. I started looking into it more detailed and obviously applied last year.
So it was on with the flying suit and time to show everyone what the new girl could do.
As a child, I saw the Red Arrows flying around where I was growing up a lot. It's great now to be part of something like that, and to know that I've got a lot of friends in the area who now can look up and see the red jets and they see us flying every day. It's good.
It's taken 44 years for the Red Arrows to recruit their first female pilot. Now Kirsty will be blazing a trail for girl power whenever she takes to the skies.